and we back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball and Aaron Olinger. What's up, everybody? Glad you're able to tune in. We got another good story where we're gonna be tapping into a lot of this stuff that's been going on here lately. Um, Before we kick into it, everybody, like always, hit that like button. That's what gets us out on the proper algorithm, so we can get this out to more people. So another thing that we're going to be doing, just like always, we're going to be following the evidence and see where it goes. So that's what we're going to hit today. So we'll start this out where um, so President Trump says that he wants peace. Iran says that it's false. Israel is preparing for another conflict, and there were some major tensions that went on over the weekend that a lot of people don't know anything about. So the question that we're going to be asking today is who's lying and who's telling the truth about what's really going on out there? Because a lot of things that's really going on right now, they're not putting out there. So
hmm
so we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to cut through a lot of those headlines and we're going to be asking the questions that many people are pretty much afraid to ask. And so, as I said, President Trump is saying one thing, Iran is saying another. Israel has its own position. Um, the media presents some of these conflicting reports. What's really going on in the Middle East that we all need to be paying close attention to? Is it a real peace agreement going on, or are we watching basically a battle over public perception? So we're going to break down the latest developments involving the U.S. Iran Memorandum of Understanding, Israel's separate security agreement with Lebanon, the growing questions surrounding Hezbollah, the future of these nuclear inspections, and the controversial proposed 300 billion reconstruction and investment plan that now everybody's saying that then they're not putting no money into. So we'll examine why so many of these governments appear to be telling different versions of the same story and whether those differences are political strategy, diplomacy, or something entirely different. Um, as some of you know, that um, there is a couple of representatives that were sent to Doha to for this high level diplomacy meeting that was supposed to went on. But Iran said that they was not meeting directly with the U.S. delegation. Instead, discussions are continuing through um, different mediators in Qatar. That reinforces the point that we've been saying before that one side is kind of describing a diplomatic process while the other side is publicly distracting itself from direct negotiations at all. So what we got here is we have this MOU that's been out, and we went over this a few times in other shows. And these 14 points that were going on, and it's supposed to be an actual ceasefire during this particular time, to where this MOU would actually make it to the 60 days to actually to become an actual agreement um, that they're looking forward to. But what we have here is a lot of talk, but you're still doing stuff on the back end. So you have Israel still bombing Lebanon, still bombing in Gaza, still going against Hezbollah. You have over the weekend the U.S. and Iran was going back and forth, hitting strategic locations, military sites, etc. So what is this really? Because you have some people who takes this actual plan as like, okay, we're going to really go through with this plan and it's going to be great. The ones who actually read it think that it's BS. And then you have people like um, Secretary of State Marco Rubio that's basically said like this, well, this is technically just something that we put in writing to talk and agree to talk later on. You know what I mean? So Then you have the whole agreement in Israel with Israel and Lebanon, which kind of contradicts the MOU. So we're gonna kind of deep dive into a little bit of all of this and try to put some kind of clarity to this because a lot of this really don't make sense, and it it seems like, as we said before, this agreement ain't gonna make 60 days. It's just really not. So, Aaron, I'm gonna let you jump off first because you had a good one that you was gonna tell about what went on over the weekend. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
get
Yeah. The attacks, and this is almost spooky to me because, I mean, this could plunge the world into World War III. The attacks that we done over the weekend, where Iran was attacking some of the ships, and in retaliation, Israel and the United States struck them back. We have avoided hitting their oil fields, their water treatment plants, their power grid. There are certain targets that were listed as being off limits for targeting. But this weekend, we specifically hit something called the South Pars oil, not oil field, but liquid natural gas field. The South Pars oil field, I mean, natural gas field is the largest liquid natural gas field in the world. It was, like I said, it was previously off limits. We went on and hit it. It is jointly run by Iran and Qatar, and Qatar is one of the GCC countries. So, in striking it, we were actually hitting property owned by Qatar as well as Iran. Uh, and that liquid natural gas field represents the backbone of the GCC. I mean, and Iran became so mad about it that they struck back at Israel and killed over 230 people in Israel. And when they struck back, before they would call and say, "Well, we're about to hit an area. Put your people into the underground bunkers and things." But they were so angry that they said, "We're taking our gloves off." They struck back, killed 230 Israelis, which Israelis are pissed. Uh, the RGC declared all major energy facilities across the entire GCC as direct and legitimate targets and warned strikes are coming. The listed targets right now is Qatar's LNG complex. It supplies 30% of the world's liquid natural gas. Saudi Aramco facility, the UAE oil terminals. I mean, basically, they're going to target it all. The Saudis right now are evacuating all their employees from the Aramco facilities and terminals because they know what's coming and they don't want all their people getting killed. The Iranian hackers have hit Aramco's digital systems, and the hackers also are posting threats to take down Saudi's infrastructure. So, and keep in mind, Iran is probably ranked number 5 in the world in cyber warfare. So, I mean, they're pretty tough in that area. Riyadh, which is the capital of Saudi Arabia, I found out was struck, and I did confirm that there were explosions inside. That's the capital of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Aramco right now in the world, it's the most valuable company on the planet. It's worth up in the trillions, and it provides 12 million barrels of oil a day. Qatar's LNG complex, and this is what people need to realize: if Qatar's LNG complex gets hit, Europe's natural gas supply disappears overnight. We're not talking months down the road. We're talking overnight right now. They've got no heat for this coming winter if they hit that LNG complex. And then, and if the Saudi Aramco gets hit, the world will lose 10% of the world's oil, and oil prices can spike 15 or more percent in a single session if we get to that level. Then Iran right now, because of the strikes that we did, they've got 10 times the motivation now with nothing to lose. I mean, this is expanded beyond just stopping oil coming down the strait. This has become a situation where they're willing to strike everything. I mean, the weekend strikes just gave Iran the justification to destroy every oil facility from Qatar to Saudi Arabia, all the way down to the UAE. They can target everything. Um, when they thought that they weakened Iran this weekend, they're going to bring them to the negotiating table. No, you gave them the justification to burn the whole world's oil system down. And keep in mind that you got 6 Gulf countries right now that are scrambling to try to protect the oil fields. So what this does is it creates a situation where this is no longer a war between just US and Iran. This is a war that's about to erase the Gulf and entire energy infrastructure in that area. And that's the same infrastructure right now that powers half the planet and carries the global economy. And that's the reason why I said it's spooky, because we could be almost in a World War III situation by the 4th of July this coming weekend, because Iran is promising they're not going to wait weeks for a response. They're responding now, and as of today, I know for a fact that they've attacked 4 of the Gulf countries of the 6 that they're threatening to hit. Now, GCC, what is that? That is the Gulf Cooperation Council. It's made up of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, and Oman. If we were playing poker, Iran just did a shove. They're no longer just going to stop the oil from coming down the strait. They're going to burn the whole damn system down. And nobody else is hardly talking about this. I mean, you didn't hear that much about what the strikes did, what they hardly targeted. This is major, and I don't know why nobody's talking about this. But let me stop there for right now.
Yeah, Aaron, I think you're spot on that analysis for sure. When it comes down to the title of what we're discussing today, who's telling the truth? Neither side. No side. Out of all 4 sides, nobody's telling the truth. What I do see is something what other analysts have also thought of as well, and something that aligns exactly with what I think of is we're going to end up seeing here at the end of the 60 days, if we even make it to that 60 days, which we probably won't. But if we do, you're going to end up seeing, no matter what, the Great Middle East War, where you're going to end up seeing not just us and attacking Iran, but it's going to be like Hezbollah, it's going to be Yemen, the Houthi rebels, it's going to be even in Iraq, even. So we're looking at a very, very messed up landscape right now.
Hmm. Absolutely. And now they also hit U.S. military bases as well.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
And there was also something that came out dealing with from Reuters that had reported that Iranian cyber attacks had tripled compared to last year, going after critical infrastructure, businesses, government systems, financial targets. Um, so we've said before when we was talking about Iran in several shows that if this war didn't actually start with missiles, it actually started dealing with cyber, and that's been one of the biggest things because if you can shut down the infrastructure, you, I mean, you can shut down everything without having to fire a single shot if you can get
Mm-hmm.
into that infrastructure.
That's right.
Um, so we're gonna jump into the whole strategic tension on all this, and this is what I want everybody that's watching tonight to really think about. Because if Iran and the U.S. and the MOU is trying to reduce tensions with this diplomacy that they're so-called saying, which, as we see, is not diplomacy. Okay, this is I can't even say this is a version of diplomacy. But Israel says that there can be no lasting peace until Hezbollah is officially neutralized. Now, you have the Israeli Lebanon um, pact that you could say for right now. agreement, you can say, and then you have the U.S.-Iran MOU. Now, how does these two come together? Does one agreement depend on something that the other agreement doesn't guarantee? Doesn't necessarily mean that the agreements um, legally contradict each other, but it does in a lot of ways. Because Hezbollah, if Iran is expected to help reduce regional tensions while Hezbollah remains armed and active, there is obviously a strategic challenge there. Israel has said that its security depends on neutralizing that threat, while Iran has long supported Hezbollah. So they're not going to agree to that. You know what I mean? So I think the overall Israel Lebanon pact was that Hezbollah would be neutralized, um, that Israel would stay in Lebanon, um, and they would slowly come out of it uh, if Libya, I mean not in Libya, but Lebanon took a bigger action in it with helping getting rid of Hezbollah, which that's probably not going to go down either. You know what I mean? But then also you also see where they struck in Syria over the weekend as well. So you're gonna you're gonna steady you're gonna steady have this going on because when Israel stands, they feel that okay, we're not a part of that MOU, and you really can't tell us how we need to govern our part. We're gonna do what we want to do. You know what I mean? But in your MOU, it says that this is the agreement that has to be made. Over here, in the other agreement with Israel and Lebanon, it doesn't say that. It's totally different wording. You know what I mean? So what you have set up in the MOU, this agreement here, strictly it contradicts everything that's on there. You know what I mean? So you have where on one where JD Vance was there and basically spearheaded the MOU, but then you have Secretary Mark Rubio that spearheaded this agreement over here. You got two different things going on here. So what do you think actually is going to take place here? Because I don't think neither one of these agreements is going to hold its weight. You know what I mean? I think you're just doing a whole lot of writing for nothing because neither one of them is actually going to hold, especially when you still taking the pop shots. You know what I mean? And you still have uh, cargo tankers, still getting hit in the strait because
Mm-hmm.
they went closer to Oman and not follow the regular track that they wanted them to track. They still talking about that it's going to be not quote quote tolls, but still fees applied. Um, they're talking about fees being applied now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so and then after the 60 days, they were saying that there's going to be fees and tolls applied on that end. This is what you hear from that side. On this side, you hear them say, "Oh no, the strait's going to be open. Everybody's going to be able to move freely, go back and forth." Contradiction. You know what I mean? And you can clearly see that the strait isn't completely open right now because if it was, it wouldn't be hitting these cargo ships.
Of
Didn't matter
course.
whether you squares the coast of Roman or roll right through the middle. Wouldn't matter, but they still
Now, have
hit.
you seen what Oman's position recently is? They recently just shifted their position back to kind of the original ideology of teaming up with the IRGC and being able to have a toll or a poll, whatever, a toll of or some sort of whatever. And so now we're kind of in that negotiations where we're trying to get Oman back on our side of the equation. And yeah, this is a difficult landscape. And do we even see it through 60 days? The answer is in my opinion, probably not. But if we do, doesn't matter. We're not going to end up getting that actual deal at the end of it regarding the nuclear program. It's not going to happen. Not with the IRGC in place.
Hmm. I'm gonna ask you both a question. I actually want to put this question out to anyone that wants to answer on the chat as well. I'm gonna put this question out, and the question is: Can the U.S. negotiate de-escalation with Iran while Israel consists on dismantling Iran's most regional proxy before fully implementing its own agreement?
Well,
Read it again.
I'm gonna say no to that because back when I was younger, all these groups, the what they call themselves, Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis are different ones. Well, not the Houthis in this case.
Right.
All of them was the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. And because they fell out with each other, they formed all these splinter groups. But Iran armed them, equipped them. They're carrying out Iran's authority, basically, and enforcing stuff against Israel. Israel's not going to tolerate this anymore. They're fed up. That's the reason why they went after Hamas the way they did. And now they're going after Hezbollah. But you got Hezbollah running half of Lebanon. You got Hezbollah controlling a large chunk of Iraq. So, and then you got Islamic Jihad controlling a part of Iraq as well. But until they get rid of those proxies, man, that this is going to continue to go on. And then Iran would have to step up and take care of it themselves.
Right.
Mike, if you don't mind, put up picture one, please.
Sure. Here's pick one for you.
Okay. What you're looking at is three different forces here: Iran, Turkey, and Israel. And the reason why I included Turkey is because Turkey is threatening to jump into this war on the side of Iran. And you look at the makeup here, they really don't stand a chance. Israel doesn't in anything except the third category, which is the nuclear category. Israel clearly has the weapons to take on Turkey and Iran, but only through nukes. Conventionally, that they don't stand a chance. Mike, give me picture two, please.
Sure. Number 2. Here goes.
Yeah. And again, people say, well, why don't Israel take on Iran itself? In order to invade a country, you got to be coming in at odds higher than 4-1, maybe 10-1. And then the home team has familiarity with the turf. I mean, and Iran is extremely mountainous. I mean, Israel could not go into Iran conventionally and take Iran on. I've seen Israel pull miracles, take on multiple Arab countries at one time and come out on top. But to take on Iran itself on their home turf with all the underground facilities, underground roads and stuff that they've got, it would almost be an impossibility. So there's no way that Israel can go into a ground war into Iran and take them on, but they can destroy Hamas, they can destroy Hezbollah, but the more dents they put into them, the more the liberal media hollers genocide. Now, when Iran killed 230 Israelis this past weekend, did you hear anything about it? Did anybody care that civilians were killed? But you let the Israelis kill some civilians, it's genocide. And this back and forth that they're doing, and the way that the spin doctors are spinning this stuff, it's sickening to me. Civilians are civilians. You shouldn't be shooting at them. But like I said, Iran said as of this weekend, the gloves are coming off. So we're looking at a major escalation here. So I don't think neither thing is going to take. If we're still doing this after July, a lot of countries over in Europe is going to be going under. Even Japan, South Korea, their economies are not going to survive. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and that's why I was pointing out earlier the Great Middle East War essentially is us going after their proxies and then leaving Iran by themselves,
Right.
and then having that much more pressure on Iran. That's what I foresee in the 60. Whether it's in 60 days or after that 60 days, and we don't get a deal. Of course, we're not going to get a deal. It will go back to square one where we go back in a military front. But it's going to be even bigger and badder in the aspect of us going after the proxies, being what, Israel has labeled the axis of resistance, right? The proxies of Iran. So, anyways, we're gonna end up seeing this get very messy, very quick, and very soon. And we all need to be prepared for when that happens, and we see gas prices go back up and go back up to exactly where they were, if not higher. Yeah, this is right now calm before the storm.
Right.
Mhm. Well, the reason why the gas prices really hasn't been as high as it should be, like I noticed today that it is starting to rise now. It had dropped down um, here. It had dropped down to like 330 at one point. Now it's back up today. I've seen it like 375. So it is rising back up, but it should have been rose. Like I said, they've been kind of pencil whipping this thing, and then if you notice, these attacks didn't start until Friday evening after the stock exchange, all of that. So there was no interference with the market at that point in time because everything was shut down. They didn't have to worry about that. And then when it comes up Monday morning, it was like, oh no, that wasn't it. This was what it was, this and this, but we're still negotiating. We still trying to work this out. They're manipulating the market. You know what I mean? And we know that. And we know that price per gallon that's not the actual price. The Brent price is the actual price, which is way higher than what they're reporting that it is. You know what I mean? Um, Over in Oklahoma, the companies over in Oklahoma, the ones that's in charge of the strategic reserve, are also saying that we're almost at tank bottom, that you don't hear people talking about. You know what I mean? They think because, okay, well, we drill so much oil here in the U.S., there's no way that we could be tank bottom. Absolutely, you can, because we're giving out more than what we're keeping. And they tapped into that strategic reserve to the point that you're actually weeks away from being at a critical level. You know what I mean? So it's some things that's going to have to come together, and it's going to have to come together pretty quick. You know what I mean? Can we really afford to go out on a full scale war like this right now? Absolutely not. They can't. You know what I mean? But you would think that if you can't do it, you would stop the extra to keep from having to. You see what I mean? So there's there was something like when I was a teenager and young adult, and you always had this one friend that he hung out with you guys, but he couldn't fight nobody. But he was always the one talking the most shit. You know what I mean? So finally, you have to tell him, like, listen, if you can't fight, don't say nothing.
Right.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
Right now, we're in a position that, okay, you think about it, Pete Hessick is already asking for more money now to be able to put in there. Not to mention the 1.5 trillion on for the defense fund. He's asking for that. You got to replenish all the stuff that you've already shot, which that takes a while. You know what I mean? You don't just pop out missiles on a conveyor belt like it's, you know what I mean, like you can make 100 missiles a day and just shoot them out like that. It's a little bit more tedious process than that. You know what I mean? There's a lot more involved in that. So that takes a while. Now, not to mention you getting in this conflict here, so you're gonna totally ignore what's going on in the South China Sea, dealing with China and Taiwan. So you're gonna ignore that because you focused on this over here, which is actually that's kind of what China would like for you to do, is to focus over here. And that way you're not paying attention to what's going on over there, being the fact that we're supposed to be the police of the world, because that's what we've been doing for all these years.
Yeah.
Policing everybody. And we
Yeah,
stretched out.
we gave up our policing during Carter. To be honest, when Carter left office, that's when everyone was like, you know what? Yeah, they're not really running this world. But anyways,
I mean, like, think about how many bases we actually have around the world. Yeah, hundreds.
Right, that's true.
You know what I mean? So we're like basically the police of the world. That's what we
On
do.
the military front, yeah.
Right, on a military front. Now, we're spaced out. We're all over the place. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with a country that has everything they need right there, and you branched out all over the place, you got to bring stuff there to get to me. I got everything I need right here, which is the same thing that China's thinking. You know what I mean? They're just looking for an opportunity to catch you where you're not paying attention, which is this right here. This is exactly what's going on over here. Now, you notice you hear very little about what's going on over there, even though they've been making little threats here and there. Yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that up to Taiwan. We're waiting for this time. We're gonna do, we're gonna do it before 27. You know what I mean? And of course, they're going to, because we're gonna be occupied doing something else, and we're not gonna have the functionality to be able to send people over, to send troops over there, because you're gonna be too busy focused on this front over here, because this whole thing that we're looking at right here, this is all paper. You know what I mean? It's paper promises, but no real guarantees. Even with that MOU, it's basically saying, okay, U.S., you need to do this, and this, and if you do everything on here, then we'll talk about the nuclear, but not until. So they get ready to get all this money, infrastructure money, unfrozen access, opening sanctions, being able to sell their own oil, make all the profit off of that. U.S. ain't getting zip, and you're gonna stay out of our business for these 60 days while we do this. So all of that goes about. They pick up everything that they need, and they basically want us as the U.S. to sit down, shut up, don't say a fucking word, just give us what we need to get, and then if you do all that, then I will consider talking about this nuclear, but not until. So when did you go from being the powerhouse of the world to somebody's bitch? That's exactly what this became. That's exactly what this ended up being. You do this or else. You release this or else. You unlock these or else. That's what this became. It kind of flipped the narrative there. So you went from being the hunter to the hunted. How does that work? You know what I mean?
Bruh.
And why is it that, they're not even really talking about this? I seen yesterday where they finally talked to some members of Congress about the MOU over the telephone. And when the senators got to asking questions, and it was questions that they didn't want to answer, then they hollered and screamed at these congressmen for even asking the questions. You know what I mean? So I thought that this whole deal, even if it became a final deal, still had to go through Congress. You know what I mean? So, but how do you have people that's over there negotiating, like Jerry Kushner and what the fuck this name? I forget the other dude's name.
Steve Witkoff.
24 hours a day. There you go. There you go. You have them over there negotiating this deal. Neither one of them actually have experience negotiating anyway, especially a deal like this. But you got them over there. And then you got J.D. Vance over there, who clearly said on an interview the other day that he don't know what the hell's going on. He said, I'm just a country boy from the Appalachians. I really don't understand none of this stuff. Okay, so you got three Nimrods over there trying to make an agreement for the U.S., which makes no sense at all. You know what I mean? And what you agreeing to is basically bogus. It's bogus. Now, let's talk about this 300 million.
Hold on, before you get into that 300 billion thing, quickly, did you refer that it needs congressional approval to get a deal at the end of the day?
No, I was saying I didn't say it needed to. I said, from my understanding, I thought that it would need to, like the actual deal, not this
right
we have now. The actual agreement after the 60 days or whatever will have to go through Congress.
I don't even think that is true. I think that the president of the United States can make that decision solely.
Are you sure about that?
I'm
Because the
not. I'm not
JCPOA
100%.
actually went through Congress.
I'm not 100%, but I think that they can do that without going through Congress. But I may be
Right.
wrong. I may be wrong. I don't know.
What you got?
I like to add. I'm kind of curious of why JD Vance is there. I do realize that he represents one of our largest political figures right now, but he's not a negotiator. We need to have experienced negotiators over there working, not amateur hour with like we got a photo op going on here because we got JD Vance over there. I mean, I like the man, don't get me wrong, but he is not a negotiator.
No,
Yeah.
no. I completely agree. I completely agree.
You were talking about Kushner, right, Aaron?
Oh, no, I was talking
Oh,
about
he's talking
JD
about
Vance,
JD.
but if
Oh yeah, JD
Kushner,
Vance in
yeah,
particular. Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
if any of our political people over there, do they really have the authority to strike a deal when they themselves are not negotiators? And will Iran take Kushner or JD Vance serious, knowing that they're not real negotiators? If they make a
Right.
deal, can I count on the United States to follow this? Do I believe they're going to follow it? If I was Iran and they're very suspicious and we're not sending our top negotiators, we're sending our political figures, do I trust anything that they even talk about? So I feel that we need to have experienced negotiators over there doing their job, not our political figures that we have in place.
Hmm. Okay. This is what I pulled up, Mike, to that question we was
Sure.
trying to figure out. Um, it says, does Congress have to see it? Yes. Under the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act, the INARA,
Mm-hmm.
the president must submit any qualifying Iran nuclear agreement to Congress within a few days. Congress then gets a review period. Does Congress have to approve it? Not necessarily. It depends on what form the final agreement takes. Uh,
Interesting.
if it's a executive agreement, the president may be able to implement much of it without an affirmative vote for Congress, although Congress can try to block or limit parts of it.
Right.
If it requires changing U.S. law, permanently lifting congressionally enacted sanctions, or is structured as a formal treaty, then Congress, uh, or for a treaty, the Senate by 2/3 vote has to have a vote.
Interesting.
So
Thank you for looking that up. Sincerely, I love learning these things for sure
yes,
because
yes. So it's
it's
either
all
or.
nuanced, special stuff,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that's what it's not so black and white. It's nuanced on a whole bunch of things. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, it look like it just kind of is it's based on the actual wording. You know what I
Right.
mean? If they're gonna lift all these sanctions, yes, you got to go through them because Congress was the one to put the sanctions in place. But if you're going around that, then I mean it could go either or. So they kind of bounce back and forth with that. So one of the biggest questions surrounding this agreement has nothing to do with the missiles or the nuclear facilities. It's about this money.
Right.
And we heard the number 300 billion repeated over and over and over again. But here's the question that nobody's really asking is who's actually paying for this? Now, the Trump administration has reportedly said that American taxpayers are not writing a $300 billion check to Iran. Some administration officials have described the proposal involving private investment, contributions from regional partners rather than a direct U.S. government payment. Um, it's also been reported that the proposal um, envisioned as like a private investment vehicle rather than a straight government transfer.
Right. Hmm.
Um, now, of course, with that, I mean, there's going to be questions about that whole
As there
process,
should be.
right? Now, you have several of these Gulf nations, including the countries that have spent years viewing Iran as a regional rival, have reportedly expressed hesitation about financing Iran's reconstruction. Public reporting and a a lot of these analysis suggest that they want stronger security guarantees and a clearer term before committing to any large financial role whatsoever, which raises a lot of those questions. So if the Gulf nations don't want to fund it, and the United States says it isn't funding it, and if private investors haven't publicly
Agreed.
committed to it, then
Right.
where's this $300 billion coming from? And now that doesn't mean that it's false. That just means that ain't nobody's actually saying that they're
In public.
putting in
Right.
this money in public, right?
And honestly, I don't think any of them actually have openly or even behind closed doors admitted to that. I think that $300 billion reconstruction fund is honestly the United States way of dangling a carrot in front of Iran. You know what I mean? Like, hey, there's a payout at the end of this if you agree to our shit. So I think it really is like a bluff, right? Like saying that there would be that, and I'm sure that Trump could manage to get countries over there to do something like that if there was a serious deal that was made. But there is no serious deal going to be made.
And
Right.
and I'm add to that. And this is just my opinion. I have no evidence on what I'm about to say. If the U.S. Population is not going to pay that bill, I personally think it's going to come from some CIA slush fund money, because CIA definitely has some money out there, and it's sizable, and I'm sure that they can take the pinch.
Well, not just that. Let's say that the slush fund from the CIA that you're talking about, and that's something that I've actually used in the past as an example on this very topic right here. We may see where the CIA, one of their slush funds, maybe they put in $50 billion. And then you've got, over there, the Gulf nations collectively put up 250 million or billion,
Right.
I mean. So that totally can happen. And the way that those slush funds work is essentially they don't touch American tax dollars, right?
Mhm.
So that would be an interesting thing. And I said for everybody to look out for when this starts happening, if these kind of things go into fruition, which we're not even going to see this point, so it's kind of moot. But nonetheless, I don't see any of this going through. I knew that maybe a CIA slush fund could be a possibility on a smaller scale, part of the 300 billion that wouldn't affect us as American citizens. But I don't know. I see this as a moot point because we're not even going to get to that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see it getting there anyway. I mean, especially being the fact that you have both sides right now that's not even talking. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I was thinking about this the other day when I was listening to this, and they were saying that they were sending Wickoff and Kushner back over to Doha and whatever to have this meeting, and then in the same sentence it says, "But Iran said it's not sending any negotiators to Doha." Okay, so if you know that they're not coming, and they told you that they're not coming,
Yep.
why are you over there?
Well, that's why JD didn't go as well, because he was
Exactly.
supposed to, right? And then they just sent Steve Witkoff and Kushner over there to deal in Doha, where they're dealing with the Qatari mediators, not the anybody from Iran and doing any face to face. Actually, Iran rejected to meet. Essentially, they rejected multiple times in a couple-day period. Because they were trying to get them to the table since we were over there in Doha with a couple of our representatives that are negotiating. So, yeah, definitely an interesting landscape, the way that the IRGC is saying we're not coming to talk to you at all.
Right. So they're not okay. So they're not talking. They're going back and forth through these mediators. That's basically, how do you say, just kind of padding the issue on both sides. You know what I mean? It's like,
Of course,
they really
especially
don't want
Qatar.
this to happen. Okay, right. So we're gonna try to padding it over here on this end. We're not gonna make them too mad, but we're not gonna make them mad either. You know what I mean? And
That's exactly what Qatar's role is supposed to be, kind of right there, what you just described.
yeah, so that's not. I mean, that's not really fixing anything, especially being the fact that these trips going back and forth over there, that's taxpayer money that you use and going back and forth over there. You know what I mean?
True.
So it's either,
True.
okay, you're going to come talk to us or you're not. You know what I mean? Simple as that. We don't need to keep going to have a middleman to speak. If you got something to say, say it. You know what I mean? Come here, say it. We work it out. We'll make an agreement. You go home, I go home. Or just say hell with it and we don't do nothing. You know what I mean? But why are we wasting money sending people over there to sit there and talk to someone that's you're not even like
Because it's
not even a
optics.
part of it, right? I'm saying it's stupid though.
Yes,
You know
it
what I
is.
mean?
But it is optics. That's the end of the day. They're looking at it like, hey, United States was willing to sit at the table diplomatically. We're keep doing this, and obviously you guys don't want to do it, and this is your decision, not ours. And so it gives them a different stance when they're unwilling to come to the table, and we're the ones showing up.
Right, exactly. But now you know history tells us that most peace agreements don't just collapse overnight. They collapse one disagreement at a time. You know what I mean? Now, that's why I said the face-to-face meeting would be more influential to me. Sort of.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I
And the reason
agree.
why I say that is like, take this for instance. If I have an issue with you, Mike, but Aaron's
To
in the
Aaron.
middle.
Right.
So I'm gonna go to Aaron and I'm gonna tell Aaron something, and
Mike,
he's gonna
your
call and tell you,
grievances.
and then you're gonna give him your part, and then he's gonna call me back. Why
Yeah,
would I
that's
need to do that when
it's
me and you can
gay.
talk face to face
Why
like
are you
men
gay?
and get this straightened out? Now we're talking about world leaders here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I shouldn't need a middleman like, oh, go over and tell him that if he don't do this, and I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? And then
I've
I'm sitting
always
at home
agreed with that.
talking back and forth on the phone. You know what I mean? Do this face to face. If this is an actual agreement, if you're
Right.
actually true about the agreement that you're trying to make, and you're serious about the agreement that you're trying to make, you do it face to face like a man, put it in writing, be done with it. You know what I mean?
Oh shit!
And stop all this little extra bullshit over here. You know what I mean? And if BB wants to keep going over a plan and do whatever he wants to do over in Lebanon, then cut his ass off. You know what I mean? You send him $10 billion a month in aid. I mean, truly the biggest fucking welfare state there is. Yeah, I said it.
Oh,
Truly the
shit.
biggest fucking welfare state there is. So if you don't want to listen, what do we always do? What do they always do if they want to get to somebody and they know that they can't get to them any other way? What do? They hit that pocket.
Yeah.
Do the same thing.
Yep.
If you want them to stop, hit the pocket. But you steady funding them, so they're going to keep doing it. You know what I mean? They're steady trying to pass laws down, trying to unify the Israeli and U.S. militaries together. All this other for what? For what? What are we doing here? You know what I mean? This is nonsense. And you really don't even hear them talking about. They don't even talk about that. You know what I mean? That's one of them situations like if you know type situation. They're not even putting that in the news that this is what they're trying to do. That they were trying to slip that in that section 224. That they're trying to slip that in to where they merging the U.S. and Israeli forces together. That's total bullshit. But they don't talk about it. Like I said, this is what a lot of this stuff comes to. This is what this big misconception is all about. It's a whole lot of smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? It's a whole lot of propaganda. It's a whole lot of, okay, well, we're handling things over here knowing that you're really not. You know what I mean? You even have people in your own party that's going back and forth, that's not telling the truth about what's really going on. You downplay it on one end, strengthen it up on the other end. Like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? We're spending billions of dollars for nothing.
Yeah, that is what we're doing. And me and you definitely, and a lot of us here have a different ideology on the way that opposition should work during disagreement. I don't care how big of an opposition somebody is. And I know that you take this stance as well, AB. It doesn't matter how big of an enemy they are. If you should always be able to sit at the table and negotiate. You should always be able to.
Exactly.
I don't care if people are like, oh my God, he killed my brother and he did this. And listen, you have to be willing to be able to sit down across the table from your opposition at all costs. I know it sounds crazy, and people are like saying that about Russia and the United States. Like, we should never sit down with a terrorist like them, you know, Putin. And it's like, no, you guys don't understand how this actually works. You know, you should always be willing to sit down and negotiate across the table with your opposition at all times. You should be able to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's exactly that's where we're headed to now. You know what I mean? How do you expect the American people to actually back something that you have very little knowledge as to what's really going on? It's just like, okay, I'm telling you, believe what I'm saying, and you either with me or you're against me. But I'm not going to tell you everything that's really going on here. I'm not going to give you the good, bad, and the ugly as to, you know, exactly what the real deal is here. You know what I mean? Like, you're either going to vote for it and ride with me, or you're not. You know what I mean? Which, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Now, will some people automatically just go for it no matter what's going on? Sure, they'll go right for it. You know what I mean? Sure, there is. You know, they always say, well, I heard growing up that God blesses babies and fools. There's a whole lot of them around here. So, um, with that being said, um, people are going to go for whatever they hear the most of. You know what I mean? So if you keep pitching the same thing over and over again, then automatically, after you hear it the third or fourth time, okay, it's true. I'm not going to do my research about it. I heard it. It's true. That's it. You know what I mean? Because very little people are like us that's more independent thinkers. You know what I mean? Now you
Objective.
can have right. You can have your own party. That's not what I'm
Yep.
referring to. I'm talking about being able to look at stuff, read stuff, listen to stuff, and decipher through the bullshit to figure out what the
Yes,
truth
and
is.
be honestly, truly objective and unbiased. You know, just be biased to the facts. If you're going to be biased to anything, be biased to the facts. And it is very hard because a lot of people. This is why on my show in the mornings, I always say to my audience, it's a fuck your emotions mentality and a fuck my own emotions mentality. You know, that's the way I look at it because it's not about how I feel on my personal stance of anything. It truly comes down to objectively what is happening. And that's what we're known to do here is to give actual facts, whether we like it or not, in our personal beliefs or whatever the case is. That's the whole thing is I think that's a unique quality in people. It's very hard because they get sided, right? They pick a side and emotionally get tied to that and then will defend it no matter what. And we see that all day, every day in politics, nonstop. And that's something that is really hard for people. I'm sure I'm going to speak for all of us here. That's it's hard for sure.
Mhm.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, we got this little part here that we're gonna let Aaron do his little thing, but before that, I want to say this. Um, so tonight we're we're looking beyond the headlines. We didn't ask who fired the missiles. We asked who controlled the narrative. We didn't ask who's paying the 300 billion. We asked whether anyone was actually going to commit to paying the money, which nobody seems to want to do. We didn't ask whether this was an agreement. We asked whether it could realistically be implemented. And maybe the biggest takeaway of all of this is because history has shown that signing these agreements is usually the easy part. Living up to it and actually doing what these agreements say, that's where the real test begins. Because as always, don't let headline do the thinking for you, which is what I was just saying a few minutes ago.
Mhm.
Read deeper into it, ask questions, compare every side, and remember the truth often lies in the space between competing narratives. Remember that. It's not always about what's said, it's about what's not being said. So I'm gonna turn this over. Let Aaron go ahead and do um, his thing, and then we're gonna end the show out. But
Okay.
I will say that I appreciate all of you for coming out, like always. Um, like I said, this what we do every week is try to put this information out there. Not trying to get you to pick no sides. It's not a political
Mhm.
thing. This is just to make everyone think. You know what I mean? Think, do your investigation. Don't just listen to us. Look it up.
Yep.
Look it up for yourself. See what it is that we're talking about is correct. If you go back and look at some of the prior shows, even go back to a year from now and look at some of these older shows, this is stuff that we're talking about right now is stuff that we talked about a year ago, 8 months ago, 6 months ago.
No kidding.
And the funny thing about it is that everything that we were saying back then is holding true right now.
Yeah.
So that tells you that it's not a conspiracy theory. This is investigative work. This is stuff that we're sitting here looking at all the stuff that's going on, looking at what's being told, what's not being told, and figuring out how to connect these dots. And we've been connecting these dots for the past 2 years here. Sally to say we're actually right about what it is that we're talking about.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming out, like always, supporting. You know, pass this on to your friends, share it, hit the like button, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, if you think you subscribed, go on there and check just to make sure. Um, we trying to drive these numbers up. The more we drive these numbers up, that's more people that's going to be able to watch this show and be able to get the same insight that you guys are getting. So do us that favor. Hit the like button. Tell your friends. Share it. If you're not on the Dominant Effect page on Facebook, go on there. We put a lot of stuff on there every day. We're always posting something. Go on there, drop your ideas. You got something to say, put it in the comments, whatever. You want to leave a message, leave a message. We'll answer you. I mean, so this is this is a community. It's just a community of independent thinkers getting down to the truth, buried beneath all the bullshit, and letting everybody know exactly what's going on before you end up in a situation that you can't get out of. So, Aaron, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that over to you, brother.
Okay. I'm kind of excited about the product I'm about to show today. I've used it many times. Mike, if you don't mind, give me pick three, please.
Sure. There it is.
Yeah. It's the Big Buddy Heater. It's by the company's Mr. Heater. This is the 18,000 BTU Pro Series. It's the one that I strongly recommend. Okay, Mike, go ahead and take that down.
Sure. There we go.
I have one of my units here. I got a couple of these. Some of the features that I like about this, it's got an easy carry handle. And if you're an elderly person, this is not too heavy. It's made out of fire retardant material. You got a grid here over the front that prevents you from being able to burn yourself. Now, here on the sides, you have two of these openings, one on each side. And what it does is to power the unit, it runs off the Coleman 1 pound propane fuel cylinders. Now, this unit itself, one of the features I like about it is it's designed to handle 400 square foot area to provide heat, especially emergency heat. Now, you might say, well, what does that mean? Well, if you can imagine an 18 by 25-foot room, that would be your 450 square foot room. And it has what I like about this, because they've got two or three other units or models. What I like about this one is it has three settings on it. It has a low setting that on low, with the two fuel cells in it, it will burn for 11 hours on low and provide 4,000 BTU units, which is British thermal units. On medium, it will run 4.8 hours and provide 9,000 BTUs. On high, you're talking 2.5 hours at 18,000 BTUs. Now, if you have a 20-pound tank, say for your gas grill, you can hook that to this unit and you'll be able to run that on low. You'll be able to run this unit for 96 hours on low on a 20-pound tank.
Wow.
So in an emergency where you need heat, you need to stay warm, this unit right here is going to provide you with what you need.
Question, real quick. How
Go
does it
ahead.
deal with carbon monoxide? Do you know?
Yes, let me go down some more features. Okay, now this is rated indoor safe for both homes and trailers. I mean, this unit is highly rated. Um, if the unit was to tip over, it has an automatic shut off that cuts the unit off. So you don't have to worry about it still burning or whatever. It has an emergency low oxygen safety system built into it. So if CO2 was building up or the oxygen was getting low, the system automatically shuts off. Okay. The price range for it is $126 to about $180. I strongly recommend you now. I know it's blazing hot outside, but I strongly recommend you now to get them because they're cheaper in the summertime than they are in the winter. You'll
Just
pay
like when you get an AC unit and during the middle of winter.
right.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Now, what I will say too, let me show them this, Mike. Buy the kit that comes with the 8-foot cable with the filter on it. So if you hook it up to a 20-pound tank, sometimes you can have the propane may not be totally clear. It might have debris or stuff in it. This filters that out and keeps your unit running good so you don't get nothing in it clogging anything up. But some of the kits come with this. If you do not get this in it when you purchase it, order it through Amazon. Amazon sells them, Home Depot sells them. But this is important to have because it gives you the option of being able to run off your 1-pound tanks or your 20-pound tanks. And that's going to make a world of difference having that option. Where can you find these units at? You can get them at Home Depot. Sam's Club sells the whole kit with the 8-foot cable in it. You got Amazon, you got Bass Pro Shops, you got Cabela's. But like I said, keep in mind, they're cheaper to buy in the summertime than they are in the winter. But I've used this many times. I've taken it with me and used it in my car when I was cold weather camping. I mean, it was freezing out there. And on the lowest setting, and I was in a minivan, I had to open my windows
Yes.
about
Yes.
2 inches because it about ran me out of there. And
Yes, absolutely.
but man,
Does it
for
actually tell you how many square feet that it would cover?
yeah, 450 square foot, which is a 18 by 25-foot room. That's a good size room. You're
Yeah, it
talking
is.
living room size or bigger.
And
So
also think about if you need it, let's say in your bedroom, you can close off that room,
yeah,
obviously,
right.
and it's gonna warm that, and it'll take a lot less to warm than like a whole space if you left everything open, right?
Correct. And let's say that if you was afraid that, because like I said, I've got more than one of these. If I was afraid that my water pipes were going to freeze, I can stick one of them close to my sink, open up the cabinets, and that heat will go under there and keep those pipes from freezing and bursting on me. So to me, it's one of the best helps that you can have for emergency heating. And you should be considering that because with this El Nino, we've for 2026 and 2027, we're going to see extreme weather changes, and it could be weather anomalies. And if your area was to go down, or you was to have a power grid failure, cyber attack, or anything during the middle of winter, I mean, Iran's already threatening Europe over liquid natural gas for heat. Having a backup plan puts you out in front of a situation. And as long as you got that backup plan, you're confident when things go down, again, you'll say, I saw it coming and I was ready for it. And I'll stop there.
Well, with that being said, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough. Make sure you guys double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Hit that like button if you guys are on the horizontal. By the way, make sure you guys go over to Archbishop's channel, the Diamond Effect podcast, and also and vice versa. Make sure you guys hit that like button on both sides, man. Also, if you guys are on my side, we're going to redirect you guys to our buddy, Dr. Harley. So make sure you guys stick around for that. All right. Much love, honor, respect, everybody. We'll see you guys here in 7 days for more of the world's madness. Of course. Much love.